Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Game Over Ottawa, as the Sens have just sensed the New York Islanders with a 2-0 victory at the UBS Arena in Long Island. I'm Maude Schoblocher, your host. For tonight's game, we are going to see how long I can talk about a game that only had 2 goals in it, one of which was an empty net. That's going to be the challenge here tonight. So if anyone has any thoughts, feelings, or questions, be sure to chime in the chat, because I will be taking an even closer look at chat compared to a normal show where I've got another guest or co-host with me. It was a pretty good effort from the Sens overall here tonight. Up until the last 2 games, the big question had been the scoring, the lack of scoring for the Sens. And they only get 1 goal past their former goaltender, Marcus Högberg, tonight. But to be honest, I'm not too worried about how that played out, because against the New York Islanders, it's hard to generate offense, especially on 5v5. And the Sens only got 1 power play in the whole game. We know that the Islanders have a really bad penalty kill as well. So you'd like to think that if the Sens got more power play opportunities, they could have broken the game open a little bit more there. But yeah, it was just a grindy, boring kind of slog of a game. So we'll see how much I actually have to say about that game here tonight. But before we get into that, before we get into the first period notes, just going to shout out Hyperdrive Hockey. Shift into Hyperdrive and get ready to have some fun with your news source for all the biggest stories in hockey, bringing a unique style of broadcasting and commentary with a Quebecois flavor. Hyperdrive Hockey combines top-tier hockey analysis, big stories, pop culture, and a damn fun atmosphere that will drive debate, make you think, and more. Join Max, Daphne, and Kevin every Monday and Thursday now. This is not updated yet, but I believe Hyperdrive Hockey is now Monday and Thursdays for your fill on the hockey world. Watch on YouTube on the Game Over Network channel, or subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or Amazon. Their first episode back from the winter break actually just dropped yesterday, so be sure to check that out, and another episode coming up on Thursday for Hyperdrive Hockey. Welcome, Ty, into the chat. Glad to see you as always. Ty says it was 3 goals with 1 disallowed, and that's a pretty good segue, because the first thing that really happened in this game was that disallowed goal for Adam Gaudette. Luckily, he was able to get the goal back later in the game, but I do have to say that I really don't like the way that one was called. After the 3-minute review, it ended up getting overturned. I just feel like Adam Gaudette, I thought he was making a pretty good effort to stop at the top of the crease, and at that moment, while he's mid-stopping, I was almost going to say stopping animation like it's a video game, but while he's mid-stopping motion, then Dobson ties him up, gets his stick in there, and it wasn't like the most obvious trip or push or anything, but he definitely did make contact with Gaudette, and I feel like that's what propelled Gaudette further into Högberg. And I think that if Dobson didn't bump him, then Gaudette just stops, doesn't hit Högberg, and then it ends up going in. So I don't like how that goal was taken away, and what I really don't like even further was the NHL's explanation that they posted about the goal, because they basically said nothing. And I quote here, video review determined Adam Gaudette made contact with Marcus Högberg in the crease, which impaired his ability to play his position prior to the goal. And then they just cite Rule 69.1, nice, which states in part, goals should be only disallowed if an attacking player, either by his positioning or by contact, impairs the goalkeeper's ability to move freely within his crease or defend his goal. Yeah, I feel like that just completely ignores the clause that when you get pushed in by the defender, that kind of, it doesn't necessarily negate any goalie interference that happens, but that can often play a role into it. Like, if we talk about a couple games ago, the first goal against Pittsburgh, Timmy Stützle got shoved, I think, by Matt Grzelcyk into the Penguins goaltender, and that goal stood because he was shoved. So I really don't see why that one counted and this one didn't. And to be honest, when I saw the replays of the one against Pittsburgh, I thought that it was going to come back because I thought that it wasn't like too much contact from the defenseman where it was like really obvious that it was a shove. But that goal counted. And then this one, where I feel like Noah Dobson, it was much more obvious that he got tied up with Adam Gaudette. This one doesn't count. So I don't understand their logic there. That's my little mini rant. That goal would have been Adam Gaudette's first goal in, I think, 16 games. Where's my note here? Yeah, that would have been his first goal in 16 games. Luckily, he did end up scoring that later on tonight, but we'll get to that later in the second period. It was kind of funny because last time that he scored a goal too was against the Islanders back on December 8th. I was looking at that game earlier because that game against the Sens and the Islanders was also the last time that the Islanders have scored a power play goal, which I thought was really funny. So ever since that game on December 8th, no goals for Gaudette until now, and no power play goals for the Islanders. Luckily, they weren't able to get another one on the Sens here tonight. I would have been really pissed if they broke their power play goal drought against the Sens here tonight, because I think they were already on a drought the last time they scored a power play goal on the Sens. I would have been pretty pissed. So luckily, I don't have to yell and scream about that, but it's just a funny stat in the end that I thought I should mention. For the rest of the first period, Tim Stützle, I thought he was really buzzing tonight, especially in the first period. The Sens had, I think, 4 or 5 scoring chances. I suppose I can, since I have Natural Stat Trick open, I can fact check myself real quick here. The first period, Sens were credited with 2 high danger chances, 4, and regular scoring chances, 5. So yeah, I feel like all of those involved Tim Stützle either setting up a pass to one of his line mates, and I guess I'm including the Gaudette no goal as one of those chances, even though time rewinds because of the no goal. Maybe it doesn't actually count in the stats, but again, on that no goal, a great setup from Stützle to get it in front to Gaudette. And he was buzzing all throughout the first period. He was robbed by Hogberg on a toe drag shot. It was a nice stick save. At first it looked like Stützle had just missed the net, but it was actually a really nice save. It was like inches from going in, because that goalie stick is so thin. It's just a matter of inches or even centimeters on those type of saves. Then after that, Chabot served up one of the worst turnovers I've ever seen from behind his net, but luckily his partner, Nick Jensen, bailed him out, so we didn't have to worry about that too much. Shortly after that, though, we did worry about Thomas Chabot because he got smoked in the mouth with a puck, and we did not see him for the rest of the night. I'm hoping that that he's going to be able to play against Washington on Thursday, because if not, and I think me and Damien were talking about this a couple shows ago, it was like, yeah, talking about depth on defense, they do have some depth guys on the right-hand side, but the left side defense depth could really be tested here for the first time this season if Chabot isn't able to play against Washington. You hope that just because it was a facial injury, he can put on a cage or a full bubble and return to playing, but you never know. It could be more of a grisly injury in the mouth there that requires more work or more precaution with the dental work in his mouth there. So if he can't play, like, I don't even know who they're going to call up. Like, I think I mentioned Jeremy Davies before, who I don't know anything about this guy, but I think he's near the top of Belleville in points. I'm going to pull up the Hockey DB here. Jeremy Davies is a left shot D, 28 years old, from Quebec, who has 23 points in 31 games for the Belleville Sens, which is second on the team in points. So maybe he gets a chance. Either him or Donovan Sabrango, I think. Donovan Sabrango did get the call-up earlier in the season, didn't get to play his first NHL game. Maybe he will get a chance this time if Chabot isn't able to go. But considering that the Sens were down to 5D for the entire rest of this game, they did fantastic. And I'll get into it a little bit later, as the second and third periods was more where the defense was important, trying to defend that 1-goal lead, but like Sanderson and Clemens specifically stepped up, and I'm worried that if either Chabot or Sanderson miss games, I'm worried about Cleven having to play top 4 minutes, but did pretty well tonight in terms of that. Like, I thought this was one of Cleven's best games, even before Chabot went down. Cleven was doing pretty well, and he ends up playing 22 minutes and 42 seconds tonight, so pretty good showing that gives us a little bit of trust that maybe if we do need Clement to move up into the top 4, he can, because he was able to do it on short notice here tonight. So, yeah, that's about what I'm thinking for the first period. There was a couple other things that happened. The puck squirted through Levi's 5-hole from a shot from the point, I think. And, usually that's a nervous moment. But surprisingly, Levi was super calm. And just like, he just looked back and he's like, oh, there it is. Covered it really easily. Like, he didn't get all frantic and scramble and, bump the puck towards the goal line or anything like that. I just loved his calmness in net. And, I don't know if I even really mentioned his name yet here tonight, but he got his second career shutout already, and he hasn't even played 10 games in the NHL yet. So that's pretty fantastic. We keep talking about Anton Forsberg versus Levi Meriläinen of who should be the backup once Linus Ullmark is back, and I think at this point there really is no question, right? And it's kind of funny with Meriläinen specifically getting the shutout against the Islanders too, because they the last time that we played the Islanders, we all know how that went with Anton Forsberg in net, allowing, I think it was 3 goals on 13 shots or something like that. So for a team that doesn't generate a bunch of offense, they were still able to score goals on Anton Forsberg last time these two teams played. So great to see Levi be able to just shut down the Islanders entirely. He also had a huge save on Casey Cizikas near the end of the first period, and tracked the rebound really well, covered it up real quick too. So I like seeing that stuff from Levi Meriläinen, really calm in his net. He's always in position to make the saves. He's never scrambling around, and he gets on those rebounds really quick to cover them up with his glove, which is nice to see. Yeah, the rest of that first period, though, I don't think I have too much to say about that. The Sens put up 0 shots in the last 10 minutes of the first period, which is just peak Islanders hockey. Normally, when your team goes that long without a shot, it's like worrying. And we've had games like that recently where it was worrying against Dallas and against St. Louis, where they had really low shots on goal totals. But it wasn't really such a big concern here tonight, because even over those whole 10 minutes, I think the Islanders only got 3 or 4 shots. So it's not like they were getting caved in. It was just a matter of a lot of neutral zone play. Islanders were able to get the puck on net a few times, but nothing super threatening. Finished 5 shots for the Sens and 7 shots for the Islanders after the first period. So pretty even period. Ottawa got the better chances at the beginning of the period. The Islanders got the better chances in the second half of the period, but that results in a 0-0 first period, even though I think that Gaudette goal should have counted. Let me know in chat if you disagree, if you think that should have been no goal, because I think it was pretty 50-50. It was pretty borderline. Like, I can see it going either way. Like I said about the one the Sens had against Pittsburgh that did count. I thought that was kind of similar, where there was a shove from the defenseman and a little bit of contact on the goalie, and I could see it going either way. So yeah, let me know in chat or in the comments if you're watching the replay, if you agree or disagree about that. Gotta have those water breaks. Now, before we get into talking about the second period, going to let you know that Game Over has a Patreon. If you're looking for ways to help an upstart media company employing over 30 young journalists and analysts across Canada, and if you have a few spare bucks lying around, you should head to our Patreon page at patreon.com/thegameovernetwork. There you'll find multiple tiers featuring different rewards and goodies for helping us grow. There's extra access, exclusive looks behind the scenes, Discord benefits, merch discounts, opportunities to give us feedback, and you can join us for special shows live where you can interact with hosts as we launch more ways to improve your experience. If you're not able to spare a few dollars, we do have a free tier available so you don't miss out. If you really want to help us, make sure to click like and subscribe on YouTube, rate us 5 stars on your favorite podcast app, and share our work on your social media of choice. That is patreon.com/thegameovernetwork. You can support us there. That is the number one way to do that at this moment. Into the second period, and honestly, for such a low-scoring game, I felt like the first period is what I had the most to talk about. So I might be going a little quicker from here, but at least in the second period, we did get a goal, which ended up being the game winner. I do want to shout out that the Sens' fourth line of McEwen, Ostapchuk, and Highmore was buzzing again tonight. I really liked their game against Dallas, and they had a pretty good game here too. They had some shifts where they were forcing the play to the Islanders in the offensive zone. And they generated a couple of shots on goal at the start of this second period. So that was really nice to see. And then my next note in the second period was 8 minutes in, go on, girl, give us nothing. Because absolutely nothing was happening in the game at this point. I felt like I was about to fall asleep, and my dad actually did fall asleep at one point in the third period of this game. So that tells you the kind of game that it was. But luckily, we actually got a little bit of excitement just after that 8-minute mark, where really nothing was happening for the first 8 minutes. Tkachuk got a great chance. Hogberg made a great blocker save on that one. And then finally, Gaudette breaks the scoreless tie off of a deflection from a Tyler Kleven shot. So I was talking up Tyler Kleven earlier. He gets an assist here tonight too. He's actually finding the score sheet a little more often recently, which is nice to see. He's never going to be a huge point getter, but seeing him improve his puck skills and get a few assists is really nice. So good job by Kleven to get the puck to the net. Awesome deflection by Gaudette. At first, I didn't even realize it went in because it just hit the side of the net right inside the post and bounced right out. But Gaudette knew right away that he made the awesome deflection there for the goal. So good stuff. It's really nice to see him get back on the board. First goal in 16 games, even though he should have had 2 tonight technically. But we won't complain about that too much. It's interesting for Gaudette because he had such a hot streak and then such a cold streak that you're like, well, should they continue giving him chances in the top 6 forwards? And it was kind of getting to the point where it's like, okay, I'm looking kind of for the Sens to like bring someone in at the trade deadline to play left wing in the top 6, slide Gaudette back down to the 4th line where he started off the season. And, you know, he only played 7 minutes, 49 seconds tonight. So it kind of was 4th line ice time, even though he wasn't technically lined up on the 4th line tonight. I guess, where is Highmore here? Matthew Highmore actually played more minutes than him with 11 minutes, 11 seconds. I think it was in the third period that Highmore got moved up onto some of the other lines. I think they switched him and Gaudette, and we didn't really see much of Gaudette in the third period. So it would be nice for the Sens to eventually bring in a player who can, you know, not have to get benched in the third period or be, you know, switching between the 4th line and top 6 shifts just to try to find some offense. But Adam Gaudette has taken the opportunities he's gotten and he's really ran with them. So I do hope that he stays in the lineup, scores some more goals recently. Hey, maybe this will be the start of another hot streak because he's clearly shown himself to be a streaky scorer. But for the rest of the second period, we didn't get too much excitement other than the Islanders getting booed off the power play, if you can even call that excitement. But that was very nice for me personally to see that because I was worried, as I mentioned earlier, that the Islanders were going to break their over a month-long streak of not scoring on the power play, but they only got one opportunity tonight and they got booed during it. So that about sums it up for how well that went. And to close out the period, Islanders got a few shots in a row on goal, but they were all pretty easy saves for Merlainen. He just makes most saves look easy, I feel like. Even if it's a good chance, he's just so calm in the net, and he's always ready for every shot that comes his way. So really nice stuff there for the second period. It was really, honestly, one of the most boring periods ever, but thank God that the Sens ended up with a 1-0 lead at the end of it because it was the kind of game where if the Islanders got the first goal, then they were probably just going to lock it down like the Sens did and just come away with the win. I'm going to take a little peek at chat here again just because this second period segment is really short because that was the most boring period ever. Conrad saying, did the Islanders get Sens? You know they did. And you know what? Since this is a 3-game win streak and I haven't been able to do it in a while, boom, there's the Sens sound again. You couldn't see it on screen because it's below me in the sources right now, but you got to hear the noise again. Hit that Sens button another time because why not? It's a win streak. So, and I feel like I'm owed a few hits of the Sens button too because I've had to cover so many bad games. I was worried this was going to be another one with the I think the last 2 games I did were the Sens didn't even score a goal. And it looked like that could have happened again here today. So thank God I actually get a little bit of happiness to talk about. Oh yeah, and Ty is talking about the no goal in the first period. He had mentioned to me on Blue Sky, but he thinks that Gaudette didn't stop in time, and he was already in the paint prior to contact. He also had his leg extended for the entire drive for the tip, to try to knock it in with his leg. And that leg, which he didn't attempt to get out of the way or attempt to bend back, is what interfered Hogberg. I think that's a fair take. I think that's reasonable. I just think that the explanation from the NHL is what pisses me off more than the goal not counting. Because if they said exactly what you said in their explanation, or something similar to that effect, then I'd be like, okay, yeah, I can see it. Like, you make that argument, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I don't know if I agree with it. I still feel like he would have not touched the goalie if Dobson didn't bump him. I think he would have stopped. He was definitely in the blue paint, but I think he would have stopped without touching the goalie. But what you say makes sense, and I wish that the NHL had better explanations like that, where they actually say what the reason for the decision was, you know? But yeah, that's going to do it for the second period segment, because what the hell else am I going to talk about that damn second period? But before we talk about the third period, if you're enjoying the show so far, you probably want more of this, right? Well, make sure you hit the like button on this video, click subscribe on our channel, and make sure you check the notification bell so that you're alerted when we go live. If you're listening to our podcast, please give us a 5-star rating or even a positive review. If you really like us, make sure to follow us on your favorite social media platforms. You can find the Game Over Network on Blue Sky at thegameovernetwork.com, which is the actual Blue Sky handle, not just the URL, because they let you use your website URL as your handle over there. So thegameovernetwork.com is the Blue Sky handle. Then also Game Over Network on TikTok and Twitter at Game Over NHL is the actual at. Instagram, Threads, and LinkedIn are at Game Over Network. And you can also find, if you just want to follow specifically Game Over Ottawa, you can find all of our hosts' social medias in the description of this episode, and all of our other episodes too. They are always there, so be sure to follow us wherever you can if you'd like more of Game Over Ottawa. And you can also check out the GameOverNetwork.com, where you can sign up for our upcoming newsletter. I guess the newsletter's not ready to go yet, but apparently you can sign up for it now. So that's pretty sweet. Be sure to be on the lookout for that. Into the third period, I'll hit that buzzer and take one more water break. So, from our favorite Sens stats guy on Twitter, Mr. T. Reynard, the Sens are 17-1-1 this season when leading after 2 periods. They got the win, so that's now 18-1-1. And luckily for them, the Islanders are 2-11-1, make that 2-12-1 when trailing after 2 periods. So that was a good omen heading into the third period, and things played out pretty much exactly as you would expect with those stats. But the thing that I really liked about the third period specifically was 15-8 shots on goal in favor of the Senators. In a game where you're defending a 1-goal lead, you would expect those stats to be reversed, where the Islanders would have way more shots than the Sens because they're pushing from behind. But the Sens, instead of just folding and playing pure defense, they actually pushed pretty hard to get a second goal before the empty net scenario, which they weren't able to do, but they actually had a lot of great scoring chances, and I think that was probably their best period for offense in the whole game, which was surprising considering they just had to play defense, but they really pressed. Giroux had a really good chance on a 2-on-1. He tried to pass it across to Stützle. It came back to him. He got the shot away. Hogberg saved that. After that, the third and fourth lines, too, were pitching in with 2 really good shifts, keeping it out of the D zone and pushing towards the offensive zone. They didn't generate anything specifically in terms of shots or scoring chances, but they were keeping the Islanders away from the Sens end, which was huge. That's what you want out of your depth players. The first line came on after that too, kept the pressure up. I think puck went into play into commercial break. Brady got a great chance from his knees in front of the net later on, and Gaudette also got a chance. Giroux set him up. He just kind of fumbled the puck in front of the net. He didn't have too much room to work with, so it wasn't too good of a chance, but it was a good setup by Giroux to sort of create something out of nothing. But yeah, all of these scoring chances, like usually in these games where the Sens are leading heading into the third period, usually I end up with not really having any notes in the third period because they're not like they're just sitting back on defense, not generating much. But I actually was able to note a bunch of scoring chances that they got, and I like to see that. I like to see that they weren't just sitting back, and they were hungry for more. They were hungry for more offense because they haven't been scoring a lot of goals lately, and they put in a good effort in that third period. It easily could have been before the empty net scenario. It easily could have been 2 or 3-0 for the Sens if it wasn't for pretty good goaltending from Marcus Hogberg, and we only scored 1 on him. I'm very glad that I didn't have to come on here talking about losing to Marcus Hogberg, because there are some bad memories associated with him, especially in the Canadian division season, specifically against the Edmonton Oilers for the 10 times that we had to play them that year, and I think we lost all 10 games. You can find the clips on Twitter of Marcus Hogberg going sliding way out of position and getting scored on from the corner constantly by Leon Draisaitl. And obviously Leon Draisaitl's good at scoring from bad angles, but sometimes Hogberg was just kind of giving it to him. So those are the memories that I associate with Marcus Hogberg. I'm glad that we were able to beat him tonight, although he seems like he could actually be a competent NHL goalie at this point. The last time that the Sens and Islanders played, I think they started Ilya Sorokin on the second half of a back-to-back. He played both nights, and I was surprised by that because it was just why do you need to try that hard? I know that Hogberg was not really reintroduced to the NHL yet at that point, because I think he had just been called up from the minors, but you'd think that they would have wanted to give him a chance against his former team. They didn't do that last time, but they ended up doing it here tonight, and he played pretty well, and I think he has good stats in his other appearances so far this season too, so shout out to Marcus Hogberg. I'm not mad at you because we beat you, but good job there tonight. If you beat us, I would be mad. I would be mad that we lost to you, but in the end, I can just say shout out to you. The Sens don't have to play the Islanders for the rest of the season, so I hope Marcus Hogberg gets to play some more games for them and does pretty well, but not well enough to catch up to the Sens in the standings or anything like that. If the Islanders could just hang around in the basement of the Eastern Conference for the rest of the year, that would be really nice. But yeah, that was a huge tangent. I guess I was originally talking about the third period. So where was I in my notes? The Sens finally did get a power play. I thought it was a bit of a soft call. I think they called it holding. Yeah, it was a hold, but they let so much go earlier in the game that I was just surprised that they called that one, especially with the way that game management works, where they often favor the team that's trailing and giving them more power play opportunities, and they don't really want to call penalties against the team that's trailing to put them on the penalty kill while they're trying to tie the game. So I was surprised that one was called, but it was actually, for only having one power play chance in this game, it was a pretty good one. They got a few decent shots. I think they had 4 or 5 shots on the one power play. Someone in chat can correct me if I'm wrong about the number of that. That's just my guess. No real amazing chances where it's oh yeah, they should have scored that. But Timmy was buzzing out there, had a couple of shots and a couple of setups. So the power play, despite only getting one chance tonight, I thought it honestly looked pretty good for not really having any reps until one chance in the third period. So that was cool. That was cool. Then we get to the empty net scenario. I didn't really have any other notes until then. We get the empty net goal from Artem Zub, which is awesome. It's kind of funny to see another slap shot into the empty net, but I guess this one's okay because it came from the point while everyone was already in the zone and didn't come on a breakaway against Morgan Rielly, who loses his mind if he sees a slap shot on an empty net. I guess you can just do a slap shot on the empty net from the point, and that's perfectly fine. There was actually 4 Islanders players kind of lined up, to the 2 guys to the side of the net and 2 guys at the top of the crease. They did a horrible job of trying to actually block that shot because Zub just had a lane right in between the 4 of them to just thread it through. And I feel like one of them really should have blocked that shot, but they weren't willing to sacrifice what it took to what it would have taken to actually win the game here tonight. So Zub gets the empty net goal, and we go home happy with a shutout for the Senators and Levi Merilainen. I think the Sens actually lead the league in shutouts now. I think they're at 7 shutouts, which is remarkable. You would not have expected that coming into the season. And if you were to be told that they would have that many shutouts, I feel like you would think that they were all Linus Ullmark. It's even more remarkable now that the split is 3 from Ullmark, 2 from Anton Forsberg, considering how bad he's been other than those 2 shutouts, and then 2 from Levi Marilainen, who most people would not have expected to even play in the NHL this year. Like, he would have basically been 4th on the depth chart at the start of the year, but he's here and he's playing awesome, so very happy about that. We'll throw it into our last segment here after we plug our merch. Got to move to the side so you can still see my face. What better way to support something you love than by repping it on yourself? Game Over's apparel line has dropped with 3 unique lines. Whether you feel the nostalgic pull of our retro skater design, want to make a statement with our established design, if you want to wear your love for goalies proudly with our live and die by the goalie design, or if you need another coffee or a toque to keep you warm throughout the winter, we have you covered. Designed by Brady Chalice from Game Over Winnipeg, use the QR code on stream now and take a look through our apparel store. Help us rebuild local sports media in Canada while repping your community. I'm gonna, you know what, move the mic over here, and I'm gonna chill here for a little bit while the merch slideshow keeps going, because I'm not covering up anyone's face with it this time like we usually do. And then we can hit the buzzer for the 4th period. Take a look at chat, see if anyone else has piped in. Ty also talking about the goalie interference again, saying it's also never black and white. It's always at the ref's discretion. That's another thing, too. It could have been totally different referees making that call in Pittsburgh versus in the island tonight. It was probably a completely different set of referees. So they might have different standards for what they think goalie interference should be, which is kind of funny when you think about it, because I feel like that shouldn't happen. I feel like it should be black and white, but goalie interference is just one of those nebulous rules where it's going to be up to interpretation. Different people see it differently. So that's, yeah, like you said, that's why there never seems to be any consistency, which is frustrating, but hey, Adam got the goal back anyway, so we don't need to be too mad about it in the end. I think before I wrap up tonight, I'm going to do a little out-of-town scoreboard check, which, with the 7:30 start, some of the Sens rivals games actually finished up earlier, which is nice. That we got to see the Detroit Red Wings losing to the San Jose Sharks. I love that. What was the other one I wanted to check? Seattle beats Pittsburgh, which is huge for us too. Unfortunately, Boston just stuck it to Tampa tonight. I'm not sure what the hell Tampa Bay was doing out there. There was one game that was still going that I wanted to check. Or not. Or I'm imagining that. But regardless, the wildcard race. I'm going to update this and see where we're at, because I haven't even looked since starting the stream. And I'm getting tired of leaning to this side. So I'm going to move back to the center of the screen now. But I'm going to keep that QR code over there. I'm flipped. Gonna keep that on the screen in case you want to check out Game Over's merch. So the Sens finished tonight 1 point out of the wildcard spot, just a point behind Columbus. If Columbus didn't get the win, it was a 3-point game. Flyers picked up an overtime loss point. If Columbus didn't get the win in overtime, we would have been tied with them, and I think we would have had the tiebreaker. So Columbus is a team to watch there, that they've won 5 in a row now. They just keep going. I keep expecting their goaltending and defense to let them down, but apparently they're just going to keep rolling and just stay ahead of the Sens. That's why it's super frustrating that Boston won tonight too, because Boston is really the team that we really need to be passing. Still with 3 games in hand, 2 points behind them. Saturday's game is going to be huge. I'm going to be back on to cover that one. And that's going to be massive. And then they play the Bruins next Thursday as well, too. So a couple of absolutely huge matchups with the Bruins. We'll see how it goes against the Capitals this Thursday. And I don't know who the Bruins play before then. So maybe the situation in the standings will change a little bit before then. But either way, the two teams will likely be within 2 to 4 points of each other. Actually, that's as much as it could change, 2 to 4 points of each other. So that's going to be huge. Boston is the team we need to overtake, I think, because they've, if you sort by point percentage, they're just lower. And Montreal, oh yeah, that's what I wanted to check, was that Montreal is still playing tonight. As I record this, they're up 3-2 on Utah, which, come on, Utah, what the hell are you doing? Montreal is one where I don't understand how they keep winning. Like, I guess you can tune into Game Over Montreal to learn about how they keep winning, because what the hell? I didn't expect this. And thank God that the Red Wings lost, because they were on such a massive heater, 7-game win streak with the new coach. Finally, that was snapped. Hopefully that can put them into a little bit of a slump there. But yeah, just looking at the wildcard standing, it's funny that the Sens are the only team with a positive goal differential too. Like, I feel like that goes in their favor. You would think, when you look at that, you think, well, if that continues to be the case, that they have a positive goal differential, that should put them, a little, just give them the edge over these other teams here. Like Boston with a -22 is just insane. They've been blown out a few times. Next closest is Columbus with -1, so maybe they'll get up into that positive differential if they keep winning. But yeah, huge that Pittsburgh lost, huge that Detroit lost. Happy about that. It's looking pretty good. The Sens are in a good position. Like, the next game against Washington is so good. They're tied for first in the league with the Jets. I don't know if this is updated with the Jets win yet tonight, but that's going to be a real tough game against Washington coming up. But then after that, those Bruins games, I think, are going to be really huge for the Sens. That's what's going to determine the playoff race going forward. Ty in the chat also saying if Tampa keeps losing, we can hit third. That is true. They do have 1 game in hand on us, but actually, yeah, now that I look at it, we're only 2 points behind Tampa. So despite them having that game in hand, if they lose that game in hand, there's a chance. So yeah, I think Boston's the team to look out for, because I feel like Tampa should just keep climbing up and Boston should just keep falling with how their seasons have been trending. But that is a good point, that Tampa is actually not that far away from us now, with the Sens winning 3 games in a row. So yeah, pretty good look at the standings there. Not in a playoff spot currently, but it is within reach, which is all that we could ask for the Sens tonight. So I think that's where I'm going to leave it. I was thinking if I really needed anything more to talk about, I would talk about the rumor that the Sens were in on John Klingberg potentially coming back to the NHL. But to be honest, I don't take that rumor too seriously. So I think I'll leave that topic for another day. If it eventually ever actually happens, then that's going to be an interesting thing to talk about. But I think that would be a really weird move for Steve Staios to make if he did bring in John Klingberg, unless it was like a Belleville tryout, start on a 2-way deal, and we'll sign you to a 1-way deal if you look good down in Belleville. So yeah, I'm not going to get too much into that. That was just the one other thing that I was thinking about here tonight before I sign off. But we'll get into that if it actually happens, because yeah, I don't put too much stock into a Darren Dreger rumor in the year 2025, especially relating to the Sens, where they really don't let much leak out with this new regime in the management. So yeah, that's where I'm going to leave it for tonight. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. Share it around. Subscribe to Game Over Ottawa. We will be back on Thursday for the matchup against the Washington Capitals. Have a good night, everyone.